most of my stuff is red pill content. But
Yeah,
I talk about internal issues amongst Black people sometimes. So whatever you want to discuss as far as Black America, I'm down for it.
absolute. Now, I will say this: you do sound Black American. You do sound Solon, because there has been a debate, or a polarizing view of you, right? Because of some of the stuff you post. Would you
Right,
cons-
right, right.
Would
So
you? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, they said I was Nigerian. I remember
Yeah, they say you Nigerian. They say you African. Um,
that. That's the funniest thing.
Elaborate. Go ahead.
No, I just thought it was funny because I never posted anything remotely that described me as Nigerian.
Right, but you see why at least some people might think foreign at the very least.
Nah,
No.
not Nigerian.
Well, I
I
don't know.
mean,
Not Nigerian specifically, but
I'm not from the hood. I'm from the country, and so
right.
like I don't have mainstream urban philosophy in my brain. I mean, I come off as an old school Black conservative because I was raised around baby boomers and World War II generation.
Well, before we get like too deep into it, how about you tell us more about who Jason Terry is? Like, where are you from, Jason?
From Georgia.
Georgia, and
Yeah.
absolute, and you are Black American Solon, right?
Oh yeah.
Absolute.
My mom's side from Alabama, Mississippi. My dad's side from Georgia, South Carolina.
Okay. And would you consider yourself Pan African?
Not in the excuse me, not in the mainstream snow. Like I'm all for Black men globally having some sort of agreement and understanding about us as Black men, but other than that, no.
Okay. Help us understand your viewpoint and ideology, so people aren't thinking uh, that you're possibly a foreigner or a Pan African to some degree.
That's because I spent a lot of my adulthood outside the United States,
Okay.
right?
Hmm.
Like I lived in Latin America, I lived in parts of Africa. I am very well read in the subject of history. When I went to HBCU, and I have a AA history degree,
Hmm.
and so I took classes in African American history, African history, American history. That's my forte. So yeah, I'm going to have perspectives and opinions about Black America and Black people globally because
Hmm.
that's my expertise.
Okay. Um. So, how about let's talk about, like, I mean, some of your tweets are controversial. Would you agree that they're sometimes a little bit controversial?
Oh yeah, that's what I aim for. That's what I tweet for. But in real life, I still talk the same shit, but I'm not as strong on my opinions on offline as I am online. But I would still say what I mean what I say.
Yeah. What do you think about our reparations claim?
Man, I was for reparations before it was popular, man. I was for reparations in the 2000s. I always been for reparations.
Okay. For who specifically?
No, just for Black Americans. If you have your ancestors that came before 1865, you should qualify for reparations.
Okay. Hmm. I mean, you don't seem too bad now, but I can't pinpoint specific tweets that you've had, but certain things have at least been. Um,
Like, I'm not a fan of Tariq, bro. He's
okay,
a grifter. He's
okay,
a grifter. He likes to take advantage. He's the modern day Al Sharpton, but to me, Al Sharpton was more smooth with it. And so I wasn't a fan of Al Sharpton. So,
yeah,
I see Tariq a hood Al Sharpton, more so to speak. He both work. IP's the agent
he's an agent.
Americans and want us to get reparations or any type of benefits. He's just trying to make money. He probably purposely causing division between us and diaspora in Africa.
Okay, so do you think that there was unity before
And
Tariq?
I mean, a lot of people don't like that, but I don't like people who come with ulterior motives to exploit Black Americans.
Hmm.
That's not my thing.
Do you believe there was unity before Tariq?
No, I mean there was no unity in Black America before Tariq. And I met Africans who were divisive. You know what? I always say this: Africans just started to claim black. Back in the 2000s, when I was in college, and we used to have these discussions on Facebook when Facebook first came around, when it was just for college students, a lot of Nigerians and Jamaicans would say that they're not black, they're their specific ethnicity or nationality.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
I always talked about that. But I'm not for using neo-Nazi type talking points against people who are the same skin color as I am. I could walk and chew gun at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Do you or do you not see how this negatively affects Black Americans in the in a macro scale of things?
Well, you have to realize something. Black America, man, the community is on the deathbed, bro. Like, we're going to be replaced by Latinos and East Indians, and we're not doing anything about it. About we should be more than about reparations, man. We should be trying to fix our internal issues too, because you know, Black Americans are not having kids. Black Americans are not having kids within wedlock. Black American children are falling behind in school. We have a lot of issues that need to be addressed in order to fix our ethnic group and to protect us from ethnocide. Because I believe in, Black Americans, we're going to be replaced in I would say about 50 years tops. We will no longer be the second most um majority as far as culture within the next 50 years. I believe we would definitely be replaced.
And Solon hasn't John Henry Clark said the same thing, right? But to his credit, he seems to bolster Black Americans. I'm not saying that you aren't, but you do see the negative effects of allowing um, cosplay or other people.
Okay, let me talk about this real
Okay.
quick. So I have no issue with Caribbeans, especially
Mm,
Haitians, coming to America and immersing themselves with Black America, because I see them as under the umbrella of descendants of slavery. And plus, Caribbeans have always been a net positive to Black Americans.
mm,
Going back to Denmark Vesey, Marcus
mm.
Garvey, the Black Panther Party, to me, Caribbeans have always been pro-Black for the most part. Now, there have been some that have been divisive, but Caribbeans to me have always stood with Black Americans against white supremacy. Now, on the other hand, let's talk about Africans. Now, like I told you, I've been to Africa and I lived in Africa, so I know a thing or two about Africans. Now, Africans are very tribal, and I do mean extremely tribal. Like, Africans pretty much sold other Africans to Europeans. Africans have been selling other Africans to Europeans and what I call them Canaanites. Canaanites, Jews, Arabs, Persians. To me, they're Canaanites. And Africans have been like that since written records have been around. And so Africans have a different mentality, and I'm not a fan of it. But some, like this new generation of young Africans, they seem to be more pro-Black. But the ones of my generation and before, they were very divisive, which is part of how Africa is. No matter if you're on the East Coast or West Coast of Africa, Africans could be very divisive and sell each other out for the sake of non-Africans, which to me is very mind-boggling. But they didn't have that type of mindset. So I'm kind of weary of Africans. I'm not gonna lie, but as far as other Black people like Caribbeans, they're definitely cool with me. I have no issue with them.
Romo, you have something to say?
Yeah, what's going on, Jason? I just wanted to ask you because you said Caribbeans have always been like on our side. Were you trolling when you said that, or were you actually serious?
I mean, from a historical perspective, Caribbeans have been with Black people when it came to fighting against white supremacy.
So, do you think that Jamaicans were on our side when the shower posse came to the United States and was murdering black people in heinous ways, like the most barbaric ways imaginable, ways like cutting people's uh, I
I'm
think
not
it's
saying all of them. No, I'm not saying, bro. You got to think of the average person. To me, the average Caribbean historically have been on the side of black people. Denmark Vesey was going to start the biggest riot in world history in South Carolina. He had no reason to do it because he was already a freed man. He came to America a freed man, and black Americans sold him out. You ever read about Denmark Vesey?
yeah. Stoner Rebellion. You know, that motivation is cool, but that's an individual. That's one person. And
Right, right, right. But you also have like Cicely Tyson. She's always been down with black people, black Americans. The lady that played on Good Times. She was against them removing James from the television show. She spoke out about it. I mean, there have been many instances in which Caribbean people have been on the side of black America.
Okay, Jason, you do realize though you are naming individuals. Now let's.
Right, right, right. But you gotta also look at, the impact. Like I say, what's that guy name that he just recently died? He paid for Martin Luther King's funeral. He was huge in the civil rights movement. Harry Belafonte. Like there are many, many instances of Caribbean people who use their wealth and their fame in America to help Black Americans when they really, actually, honestly, they have to.
Oh, they have to. Name a Haitian business that goes out of their way to bring charity to the
Now
communities.
I can't really say, Haitians, because Haitians have been dealt something that no other country has been dealt. They not only kicked the French out, they fucking killed them. So the Haitians have been attacked more than any other black group since the 1800s. So I can't really say what Haitians have done, because what can they do?
I mean, you kind of
They're
just you
constantly
just
being attacked by white
but you
supremacists.
just propped them up, so I have to at least.
Right, right. I mean, Haitians deserve to be popped up, bro. Look
But
at
you're
what they
naming
did.
individuals, which is fine. I agree with that. What I don't agree with is some type of larger macro scale of
I'm not trying. Listen,
Haitians.
listen, man. Listen. Let me tell you something. The reason why black men have fought against white supremacy for thousands of years is that we are very divisive. We try to find ways to divide ourselves. Look at black America for the past 40, 50 years. Black men been dividing themselves by who's educated, who's not. Fucking Pookie's robbing and shooting people. Like, black men got to get over that divisive shit and try to come together and unify. Like white people do. Elon Musk is a fucking tether. So is Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a fucking anchor baby. You don't see white people fucking questioning their lineage. And Elon Musk, technically, he's a net negative to white people because the policies he want to implement is actually a negative to white Americans. But you don't see white Americans going out their way to try to, question his nationality or try to be divisive like that, because they know they're only stronger together. Okay? We as black American men, we need all the allies we can get. Because I don't know if you haven't realized something, but shit, even our own community shit on us. Look at how the community shit on fucking Nate Parker. Look at how they did it from the guy who was going to play in the MCU. We need to talk about each other and stop talking about others and stop trying to fucking divide ourselves in the diaspora.
So here's the thing, though, Jason. Like I said, I agree with the individualism. On a macro scale or in a collective group, they are not the ones to look at as some type of propped group. These are the same people coming here and revising history. How many times have I seen this lie about Chicago in relation to a Haitian? When that's a complete lie. We've already looked into it. The
Bro, they said
Hold on,
that in
I'm
the
listening.
history
Hold
books. They
on.
they
Yeah,
said it in the history books.
because of a lie from a Haitian. They're revising our history. So we got to be clear about what they're doing
I
as
mean,
well. Hold
technically
on, give me a
during that
second. Hold
time,
on. Hold on.
technically during that time, ethnic lie. Technically, we have to be technical
Hold on.
during.
Give me a quick second. Because again, I just want to talk about the individuals, but on a macro scale, you can't really define it that way. So they have been in here revising our history. You can't really talk about collective issues that are doing positive for us. They're not largely hiring us in their businesses. They have their own individual scholarships and all types of grants individually for themselves and our communities, churches, and what have you. They are dividing themselves within us before we even came to the realization about so called dividing us with them. So we have to recognize what they're doing as well, not only as individuals but also as a collective. But go ahead, Jason.
You had me muted, but I can agree with that in to an extent. I mean, I'm not against them retaining their own ethnic identity and culture within Black America, but I don't think they are a problem so big that it impacts the daily activity and the daily economic standing of Black Americans.
Okay. Hold on. Let me. Anon, you want something to say? You can say something.
Yeah. So wait, the topic is about Pan Africanism and like delineation, or like what's the topic? I just want to make sure before I comment.
Well, I mean, well, yeah, it's mostly about Jason, but also yes, in the alignment of Pan Africanism as well, as it will affect negatively or positively within Black America, Soulaan Americans.
Okay. Yeah. So here's my take. I think um you guys should focus on your individual issues, and I think African nations should focus on their issues too, Caribbeans too. And I feel like there's too much division and too much issues in these countries for it to be like a true Pan Africanism. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they got to work on their issues before they want to like team up with everyone. You know, and
Right,
also
right.
I think they also have done like Pan African things too. Like they have like events and Nigeria right now. Like what is it called? Like Dedi December or something like that. Trying to connect people with Nigeria and stuff like that. You know, and also they've given passports to people of Soulan descent in America. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I feel like they're trying their best with the resources they have. You know, you got to think about it. Like these countries are fighting conflicts inside their nation. They have like U.S. and Europe fighting with them. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it would be smarter for us to work together as a collective and fix our individual issues. So that's my take on that.
Um, right. So they should fix their issues as a collective group first, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think both groups should fix their issues first before
Right.
they, want to pour into others. You know,
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that.
because I think it's way better. It's way important issues than Pan Africanism and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right,
Like
right.
these
Well, we're
communities.
tackling the entire ideology, not ethnic groups or the continent of Africa. This is just the ideology of Pan Africanism and as it stands, and it's largely not even in that continent. So
What do you mean? You said Pan Africanism isn't in Africa?
no,
What do
it's
you mean?
largely not in that continent. No, it's not.
How do you know that?
What are they doing to incorporate the entire pan identity and to fix global black issues when black Americans aren't even a part of the African Union?
Okay, you just said that they're not, and I'm asking like, can you like give me specific
I just
examples
said,
in
yeah, yeah, I
2024?
just said we're not a part of the African Union.
So, like, you said they're not doing Pan Africanism in the continent. I'm telling you, like, can you give me an example of individual
Yes,
nations?
in the whole continent, they're practicing tribalism and stuff like that. That's a good example of that.
Okay, so they haven't done any Pan African things at all. That's what you're saying.
Of course, they have. I mean, there's like three countries that they did. I'm talking. We're talking about in general.
In
That's a
general,
rare.
but
It's a rare occurrence that Pan African does happen in Africa. That's what he's trying to say.
oh, that's what he's trying to say. Yeah, I
Yes.
see where he's coming from,
Oh
but
yeah,
I
you.
think it's definitely.
I didn't say absolutely not. There's none. I'm just
Oh,
saying, of
okay.
course not. I'm saying there is just not that prosperous. It's not that that notorious and known because they're largely not practicing it like that in larger macro scale.
I mean, they're doing it pretty well right now with Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. Yeah, they're everyone's looking at them. Seeing even Meek Mill even spoke about it, so I think it's definitely gaining a global traction. You know what I'm saying?
We'll see. I wish the best. I want the best for Burkina Faso and Mali and what they've been doing from what I've been reading. So we'll see how that goes.
Also, I was gonna say, so you feel like you're not gaining support from these nations? That's what you feel like, right? Like you've never had
We've
support, or
never gotten support from these nations ever since uh they've taken some of the Africans over and placed them over here. There has been none.
I mean, they didn't.
I would say, with the exception of like Algeria and Libya, especially Libya.
You said Libya. How so?
Yeah, they've when Gaddafi was president, they'd offered millions of dollars to Black Americans several times. One time to create a military, one time to build a big mosque buy a big mosque in Chicago, which they did. Historic. really historical stuff. Also, the Black Panthers going to Algeria. Yeah, the only countries I would really say is
So
Algeria
you're
and
telling me
Libya.
that
We talk.
there hasn't been any West African nations who have helped the Black Americans or given support or done anything. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, there's
Not that I
absolutely
know
have
of.
been none. There's no resource divvying up. We got no type of stuff, which I don't even care. Like at this point,
I
no
just I just
resources,
list
no.
examples of how they're doing that.
Not how we doing it. Can we
What do you
can we
mean?
go to can we go to schools? Can we get like I don't even like for me specifically, not to try to divvy off the conversation. I don't it doesn't even matter to me. I just want to focus on what our people are doing.
Okay,
So
that makes sense. Yeah, I don't. Based off the conversations I had with like FBAs and a lot of Black Americans on this app, I don't think it's compatible for Pan Africanism to even happen. Right? Like I said, they should just focus on their issues on the continent, and that's it. Like they should delineate like you guys want to do, and yeah, there's no pressure for you guys to do anything. It's up to you guys. Yeah.
Abs-
I think the issue with both I think the issue with both sides is these $5 Africans, like the Dr. Umars and people that want to call Black Americans African or want to speak about African issues and not really doing anything. I think that's a central issue, and then a lot of the $5 Africans inside of Black American political conversations and whatnot. That's one of the huge issues. Obviously, white supremacy is the biggest issue, but a central issue which both Africans and Black Americans have issue with is the $5 Africans. But I'm gonna go with Moroccan and I'll give my pretty much my whole dissertation about that in a little bit.
All right, thank you so much, Anon. Appreciate it. I want to get back to Jason for a second, then we'll go back to the other people. Um, so, Jason, what would you say is where should we go as Solon going forward?
Like I said, I think we should address our eternal issues. We should address the high out of wedlock birth rates, the crime in our communities. We should find ways to invest in our communities and make them safe again. El Salvador, we could use their example. They had very high crime rate, overran with M16 gangs, and now their crime rate is only one or two homicides per 100,000. When at its peak, it was 50 per 100,000. Black men are 50 victims for every 100,000, which is higher than third world countries. I think Black America should focus on issues that are important to Black Americans only. Now, I'm also anti-immigration. I think we should push for stricter immigration laws, but we also should push our boys to get more in the workforce. Not many Black men are in the workforce working.
And why is that?
Well, it could be discrimination. Could be that they don't want to work. I met many Black American men who sit on their mama's porch all day. They don't want to work. I tried to get many Black American men in the workforce, and they fucking fucked me over. So we need to change the culture. The culture of Black America needs to change. It needs to go back to how the culture used to be. When Black men worked hard to, provide for their families, and we had intact families. And we should also fix the feminist mindset that's embedded in a lot of Black American women. Black men are scared to hold Black women accountable for the culture, and we have paid tremendous for it. We have let Black American women get away with way too much. You know, Dudes scared to call Black women out on their bullshit because a lot of them have been raised by their mamas.
Now, you touched on a couple of points. Now, why is it that we do have certain sectors of Black men who that you observed to be sitting around on their porch? Why is that?
From what I saw, honestly, I saw it in my own family. I saw it in my own neighborhood. A lot of them, have been groomed by their mothers to not be men because their mothers don't want to be married, so they keep their son around in a very incestuous way. You see it a lot in Black American culture, and I'm pretty sure all you niggas have seen it.
Well, let's talk about the psychology for a second, right? Because I know plenty of Black men as well that to some degree get discouraged as well by the workforce after applying for many of jobs over and over and over again and constantly being rejected over and over and over again. I was one of them before I started working for myself. I was one of those men who would constantly be applying for jobs, despite my resume, despite everything I've accomplished. I have a master's degree, and finding whatever excuse to say no or to reject my application. At some point, there was even a study that came out that not even a study. There was a study, but also there's an incident where a man and a woman, actually, I remember, they changed their last name, and they actually eventually got in the door to at least get an interview. Some people aren't even getting a chance to get an interview. They're simply changing their last name and they're getting in the door. Or I think their first and last name. I don't know. So I don't know if I'm correct on everything. But they changed aspects of their name and then were at least allowed in the door, to the point where at least the guy went and sued for that. um, there is large discrimination when it comes to Soulaan Americans. I've seen a woman even talking about that right now in California. Soulaan, you could probably talk on that as well, possibly, if you know more about it. But there has been a targeted attack based on our names or the information that they're finding. I'm finding out that they're looking at us through our LinkedIn's or our social medias to make decisions before they even get us into the door for any type of hiring. So long, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I can agree with somewhat what Jason said. I mean, everything needs to start with the family first. We do need to sit down and probably discuss things: black women, black men, black child, grandparents. The second thing is we do need to work on our own self sufficient. We need to have more jobs that we could work for ourselves and then hire our own people. Just like Maroc said, going through that work and working for a different group of people, that has not really gotten us super far uh, since the quote unquote social integration. So anything that any other group can do, open a EMT business or IT or any type of office work, we could do that too. We could open our own business and then we could hire our own people. And I do
In
agree.
the thing,
Hold
not to
on,
interrupt, but
one
we
second.
have to make this an issue.
One
We have
second.
to make the lack of black employment an issue. We have to
Yeah, the
buy
black
our politicians. We have to buy our own grassroots organizations. We
and
have
I
to
was going to
buy.
get I was going to get into that too. Yeah, we do need our own packs. We do need our own in person think tanks. And yes, you are correct, Jason. We do need to buy our own politicians so we could push the black unemployment issue. We need to push the black crime rate issue so we could get more jobs. For example, independent security force, alternative courtings that's supported and ran by a black American overseeing board and an alternative correction facility to address the recidivism that black men and black women go through. But go ahead, proceed. And that's job creation. Go ahead. Am I talking?
Yeah.
Can I add in
Go
as a
go ahead, man. Go ahead.
yeah? I was gonna say, can I add in as a African? I don't know if you guys don't want that, or because I feel like certain spaces they don't want
No, I don't
them
mind.
speaking.
No, I don't. I don't mind. It was just I wanted to get back to Jason because.
I
Oh,
But
mind.
go
okay.
ahead.
I mind.
Oh, well, he's not really saying. He's not really. Go ahead. Go ahead, Anon. Go ahead.
Oh wait, so who? Jason? Oh,
Anon, go ahead and speak. Go ahead.
oh yeah, yeah. From what I've noticed, I feel like it definitely needs to be a push for like nuclear family and stuff like that. And I feel like you guys should organize better and like you know call shit out. I feel like a lot of black men are not calling these things out. You know what I'm saying? Like same goes for Africa too, and in America, right? Like they're not calling out these leaders. They're not calling out what specific things are going on. You know what I'm saying? When you're not calling it out, you're just like sitting there and just letting shit happen to you. You know what I'm saying? And practice group economics. Even in Africa, like people are not working together. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why, but like it seems to be like a issue between black people everywhere. Like we don't want to work together and like build together. You know what I'm saying? Like we want other people to come create those things for us. We don't want to be self sufficient. So I think that's definitely something that should be happening. Globally. And that's like my advice. Yeah.
Absolute. Thank you so much. And then Trey Z, do you have something to say? Trey. Okay. And so Jason, your viewpoint is that I mean, you do want the best for Black Americans, and I've seen you point out certain things within the community that we can observe, and we probably know and seen before, of course. Um, and then, but you do understand the history behind that and the discriminatory practices behind that as well, though, correct?
Oh yeah, but see, I'm a man. I'm a very competitive man, and so I don't like excuses as far, especially when it comes to extreme stuff like the rate of crime in our communities. I don't want to hear excuses for it. Excuses are like assholes, and men are not supposed to be about excuses. Men are supposed to be about addressing the problem and forming a solution. That's the problem with black men. We like to talk about the problem, talk, 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 talk. We'll talk about that shit all day, run our heads, and don't do anything about it. So for me, I'm I'm not for, okay, I understand the CIA, what the CIA has done. I understand, the crack epidemic. I understand, the Jewish executives in Hollywood. I understand that, but at the end of the day, we are men and we are supposed to compete to be at the top. We can't blame the white man for wanting to stay at the top. We should blame ourselves for giving them that power to stay at the top. As men, we're supposed to go out there and take the power and compete with the power, not cry about the power that the white man have.
I agree with that 100%. The only problem I have with that is that it seems to me, at the very least, that you want to kind of excuse it and kind of ignore it and kind of sweep it under the rug. I think,
How when I'm addressing it directly.
well, you're saying
This
it, but
the
when,
white man never told us. The white man never told us that he was our friend, has he?
no,
Exactly. So if he's not a friend, what is he a
we have
foe?
to reckon, but
Men compete with men. The basic nature of human is to compete with men for resources. Just like, you trying to date a girl. Men compete with men trying to get a bitch. You try to go to a girl, you try to make sure you the man, you better than the rest of them. That's the same way when it comes to resources. You got to compete with the next man to get those resources and to be at the top. Men, we are hierarchical. That's us as humans. Okay? Our job as black men is to ensure our race stays, go to the top of the hierarchy. If we can't go to the top of the hierarchy, then we are to blame.
So I
Okay?
got this.
There's no excuses, man. That is for women.
So
We are men. We are supposed to be men. The condition of the black race falls on black men and nobody else. It's not the white man's job to subsidize our problems.
right.
And it's our job as black men to make sure that the white man ain't causing problems in our communities. So if the white man causing problems in our community, you know who fault that is? Ours.
So, but at the same time, we recognize the problems and the things that they're doing against us as well. That's a very important strategy to recognize what the enemy is doing.
Right, right. But if the white man has the power to cause problems in our community, then what does that say about us as black
You're
men?
not going to do anything by not pretending it's not there. We have to learn what the tactics are and that are being involved here. Go ahead, Saint.
I just let's just cut to the chase. So Jason, you want to go to war, right? That's basically what you want to do.
We've been constantly in a race war since 4500 BC, bro. But go
Is
ahead.
that is the only way things are going to change for us is a war, and let me tell you why. Because meanwhile, we going to college, we're going to work for them. Their kids are not going to college; they're going to be CEOs of these companies. It's a system. You're not going to beat this system they put in place unless you're ready to go to war and take what's ours. So all this, what we got to do. That's the only answer. That's legit the only answer, and that's what you want to do, right?
Okay, listen, listen. I will not go that far because I believe, contrary to popular belief, I believe the civil rights generation gave us a path to where we don't have to go to war with them, at least not yet. A lot of let's be honest, a lot of our problems in Black America is our fault. Okay, we don't have a structure. We practice uncontrollable hedonism, and we don't punish our traitors. Okay, because we're at a point where we got to compete with Hispanics, we got to compete with East Indians, we got to compete with Asians, we got to compete with everybody, and those people have been more anti-black thousands of years longer than white people. Okay, especially East Indians. Their whole country and culture is
You just
built
hit
off
someone.
anti-black.
To hit someone on there, and that's what Soulaan for.
Like our ancestors found a way for us to try to build ourselves without us having to fire a gun if he comes and try to interfere with our community.
But the white man don't interfere directly with your community. The white man put systems in place that interfere with the people in your community.
Okay, then if his systems gets in the way, then we have to burn it down. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Exactly. But you gonna burn your community down?
That's
You gonna
the
burn
only
their
solution. That's the only solution we have, or else we're going to continue to talk and talk about this for the until we're in a fucking ghetto for the rest of our fucking
and I gave you
existence.
the answer. What we gotta do? That's the end. Trying to cut off people in the community when you talking about what you're talking about, that's not gonna do anything. You're trying to go against your people instead of the system, right?
No, because the white man can't be empowered unless there are weak black men to empower him.
You want okay? You want black people to stand up.
There cannot be white supremacy without black condoning. It's just not possible. If black people were competing with white supremacy wouldn't even be a thing.
That's what you want. Then you just say you're competitive. That's what you said at first. You saying that we should know everything that's going on and we should compete. That's the first thing that you said, right?
Right, right. We should compete.
Exactly. So how are you gonna? You're competing in their system. How can you win in that system?
Like I said, we should find a way. If that doesn't work, then you have to burn it down. Like I said, I believe our ancestors gave us a way if we have not taken advantage of, like I said, this is exactly what you're doing. Keep making excuses after excuse after excuse instead of putting things in action. That's what black people do. I've worked with black people off the internet. All black people do is talk, talk, and talk. It don't make any movement. I've been to black business conventions. I've been to BLM marches. I've been to all types of shit in my adulthood. And black people are very repetitive with this shit. It's talk and talk. Talk about what the white man is doing. Who gives a fuck what the white man is doing, man?
That's who control the cards.
Like
Hey, let
for
me get
real,
next on the
who gives
mic.
a fuck what the white man is doing? Like look at what we doing to each other. We need to get ourselves straight before we try to talk about what the white man is doing. Shit, I gotta worry about a nigga fucking jacking me before I have to worry about fucking.
Not technically, they jacking you in them taxes. Y'all don't understand the level of things.
My nigga, I carry a gun for rednecks, even though I grew up in the fucking South. That's who I carry my gun for. I don't carry my gun for potential, encounter with redneck, even though I would give them the business if they step to me. But we all know, let's be real. The nigga worried about gonna fucking pull out a gun on is gonna be another.
Okay, and all right, absolute, Jason. You do got some great points, but the thing is that you tend to again constantly ignore the systematic ramifications that are involved here. We have to recognize them. They're not excuses. That's reality. And to ignore the systematic systems in place is just not going to work in our favor either. So we have to recognize them. We can't pretend that they are a fallacy. But we'll get right back to you because I just want to get to a hand or two because Kush wanted to be antsy. Go ahead, Kush, if you had something to say.
I'll say the only reason our elders back then was so successful is because of the overt racism. The overt racism made us stronger, made us more resilient, and made us love being black and be prideful of that. So when racism went overt, meaning when they allowed niggas inside the stores and allowed to shop and we can wear the heel figures and all that, we got lazy because we think, we made it. We finally so called unquote free because we can sit down with the white man and eat without having to look over our shoulders, this, that, and the third. So what our elders did back in the day was work together because they knew the common goal. Since today we don't work together because we think everybody free, and we see it. We see black millionaires on TV. We see successful black people. We see black people driving these business and stuff. So black folks and black men just think we got it good now. That's all. So when we see us getting killed by police, we don't do nothing because hey, I can drive where I want to go without getting harassed. I could do what I want to do without getting harassed. So it's no more pressure. We was producing diamonds because we had all this pressure, and they realized that. So that's why they stopped showing overt racism and switched to covert with the bank loans and the housing applications, this, that, and so forth. That's how they fucked us over with that. So at the end of the day, black men think that we got it good. That's why we ain't doing shit. We just think we got it good now. That's what the whole problem is. We just think we got it good because we can sit down and drink a beer and watch the finals. You know what I'm saying? Without looking out the window, making sure the Ku Klux Klan ain't coming through or ducking because they throwing Molotovs in this, down, the third. We think we got it good because that was just by design. When they was putting the fire, when they was putting our feet to the fire, we was in the field, we was working together, we put our issues aside because we know at the end of the day, the color of our skin matters. Now, since they made us think, since they gave us the illusion of freedom, we think we don't have to do shit no more because our ancestors already did it for us. The people in the '60s already did it for us, so we don't got to do shit. They already did it for us, so we can just sit back and relish on the sacrifices they made because they already did everything for us. We don't got to do shit no more. We living in the fruits of their labor now. That's how we moving. Except for realizing it's more shit to be done. It's more shit to do. It's more things to progress. You feel what I'm saying? So I just feel like since they switched the racism to overt instead of covert, it made us lazy. You know what I'm saying? We think we won. So
That's
now
not
we can
my
just sit
reality
back and
though.
now we can just sit back and be cool because every black man know the system. And every black man knows what they got to do to beat the system. But at the end of the day, we caught in the illusion that now that we so-called free, we don't want to risk that. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to risk our livelihood for the next generation because we think we got it good now. When back then, that was all about. Back then, black men, it's my fault. Back then, black men was willing to die for the smallest things because it meant a lot more. Nowadays, we have nothing to quote unquote fight for because we think we got everything now. You feel what I'm saying? So it made us lazy and
All
it
right.
and it gave us no motivation.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Kush. I didn't want you repeating yourself. So I agree with what you're saying. Absolutely, we've become very complicit. Um, and I agree with some of the points with that. But also, I think there's one aspect that you kind of left out. Um, what would Jason or Kush think of this? Why have we become so complicit? What changed after the 1960s?
I just think Neely Fuller talked about this, and I think it's a combination
Yeah.
of things. Um, what Chris said has a lot to do with it. Neely Fuller called it the showcase Negro. You know, a lot of people in the hood, they say, look at a rapper, they look at people on TV, they see them with a lot of money, showing off everything, you know, and they think, okay, I'm living bad, but my brother that's on TV, he's living good, so things might not be too bad. You know, a lot of us have coped with our position in America because we see other blacks doing well, and so we think all is okay. You know, we think we have access to the basic necessities that that's just good enough. You know, we're not being proactive. That's the biggest problem about black people. We are mainly reactive. We're not being proactive about the things we should be proactive about. And so what we have to do is become proactive again as if we're living in the 1950s like our ancestors were. You know, that's the only way we're going to be able to bring about effective change within our community.
Yes, I agree with that. But I will also say I agree with both your points as to the aspect as to why. I will also have to infuse the fact that there's been a whole lot more immigration as well, and with that immigration came with a bunch of tethers as well who are very much complicit um and what's come to offer here. They already have the set asides and the benefits that came after the 1960s that came with their immigration, and it was much better over here as opposed to their homeland. So why rock the boat uh,
That's our
when
fault.
you're
We let them come in our communities without putting their
hold
bread
on,
in.
Kush, hold on. And so that would be part of the issue as well. Anything you want to add to that? I'm not saying yes or no to it. I'm saying that's part of it as well that you left out, Kush. But I'll let you speak in again in a second. John, you have something to say? John,
Sorry, that wasn't me. But thanks.
absolutely. Thank you, John. I mean, John brought up something very interesting as well. I wanted to tap into environmental racism. Jason, do you have any takes on that and it effects on Black America?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Environmental racism is a thing. So there was this documentary on Monsanto. back when they were a chemical company, and the state of Alabama allowed them to plant chemicals in a black city called Anniston, Alabama, back in the 1970s, and it pretty much killed most of that population that lived in that neighborhood. Environmental racism is a thing. Like I said, we have to place our attention on important things, but we also have to place our money on that attention as well. We have to have our super PACs, our grassroots organizations go to DC or go to the state capitals of these states and fight for, the things that affect Black America directly.
100% absolute. I agree with that. Yo, you got something to say?
What up, Jason? We be kicking in on X a lot. I be talking to you in the tweets and stuff. All right, I got a lot to say because people be afraid to let me talk in these rooms because my page kind of crazy, so everybody think I'm gonna say something stupid. But all right, Jason, you said something like 10 or 15 minutes ago, and then there was a guy that spoke, like two people before you, that said something that related to it, and like I'm in a room full of black men, so I just want to get y'all perception about this, right? Um, I think that racism or the system that the white man built doesn't anger me as much as the internal issues that we have as African Americans. I hate making fun of Pookies. I swear to God I do, because a lot of them are my friends. Real talk, I swear. But it is legitimately ruined. Like we keep talking about the system and like racism and like everything that's built to like in our like built to like the system that we are fighting against daily and all that stuff. I swear to you, my personal issue is other niggas holding me back and just being completely just divisive all of the time within our community. That angers me more than the most racist white person in the world. I can't even think about the system because the niggas I live around fucking annoy the shit out of me. Furthermore, it's embarrassing. People look at black men like we're a fucking joke because, like, there's this it's not even all of us. It's like a minority of niggas that is like representation for like all of us, bro. And it's an issue that is more important to me than like not getting a job that I think I deserve. That's more important to me than like the schools. Cause nigga, as a father, I give my son the books I want him to read. I'm not leaving that up to no teacher. No white man can stop my son from being intelligent. That's not my issue. My issue is the dumbass black boy he go to school with that might shoot him because he's jealous of him. That's an issue. That's our biggest issue. Furthermore, black women get away with hell, bro. It's ridiculous, and we don't talk about it enough.
Um, but yes, I do agree. Um, yo, to a certain extent as well. But the thing is that the the thing is that where we disagree, and I think that's where Jason probably gets a bad rep with some Black Americans, some Solon on here, is that while I agree, while we can agree on a lot of things, certain things just we don't agree with because it seems as if there is an erasure or to ignore the systematic parts of it that are in place that puts us in positions that I'm not particularly proud of. I do commend Yo for saying that it is a minority of us because it is. You come around me, you're not getting the same experience. You come around Solon, you come around T-Roy, you come around Romo, you're not getting the same experience that you're getting with these lowbrow Negroes. But does it exist? Absolutely. But there was a large shift in dynamics after the 1960s. Everything went to hell. You want to talk about this feminist movement? It came abruptly out of that. The out of wedlock shot up. Everything went to hell. So we have to be conscious enough to understand what were ramifications of that and the why to that as well. Go ahead, so long.
Yeah, like after the 1960s, Solon shifted focus from economic empowerment to social integration, largely due to the civil rights victories or victories of our ancestors. The leadership losses as well and the systematic barriers. So while the laws dismantled segregation, economic disparities very much persisted as Solon owned businesses declined and government aid fostered dependency. Social equity became the focus, but without economic power, true progress stalled. So it's really time to revisit strategies of self sufficiency and community based economics to address the wealth gap and rebuild sustainable black economics economy so we could truly economically integrate or economic segregation or economic desegregate. So I'm gonna land.
Absolute. Agreed. John, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that. Uh, God, can you remind me the last person you were? What was that topic you were speaking on? I just went blank. I'm on stage right now.
Um, what, the 1960s, the out of wedlock.
Right. Yeah. So after they assassinated our leaders, they kind of diverted that energy out of the 1960s, right? And they kind of started leading us towards super bad in the Mac. But also, what integration did was it's kind of like big bank takes little bank. Big bank sort of acts like a vacuum. Prior to that, we had these sort of micro economies where we had the Negro Leagues or the Black Rodeos or Black schools, and the money sort of circulated in those micro economies. But once they allowed us to integrate, it just like the white wealth absorbed all of our money. People went north, and it was twofold. We didn't have families to protect us from market capitalism, nor did we have the capital to protect us from market capitalism. And we went to the 70s. We had Vietnam, and it tore us apart, I think. And well, those are my ramblings, guys. Thanks for listening.
Absolute. Absolute. One more thing I wanted to hit on as well. We have to also be real about another systematic issue that we see. It's like a cesspool of a circular motion of just degeneracy that encapsulates some of us in a certain sector because we as ourselves are just criminals here, right? Right after we were emancipated from slavery, they basically made it a crime for you to be black to a certain degree as well after we were free, with things like the vagrancy laws. Vagrancy laws. If you were just if they just seen you out in public and they just assumed that you were homeless, that was enough to send you to prison, and then that was a way to make you by proximity a new slave. And it's still you're basically still a legal slave under the prison system now, even today, with the 13th Amendment. So when people are just criminalized just by their skin color, you're sent to prison, right? You continue to be a slave. Eventually, you may be let go legally, but then the ones that are left out and or let go legally, they go back into their communities. What happens? They can't vote. They can barely get a job. They're left to live in squalor and in poverty. This builds frustration. They've been institutionalized within the prison system as well. Your psychology is completely warped. You're put in isolation many times, and the vast effects that has on any type of human, that has to be mentioned as well. You're going back into your communities, and you're being nothing but a pessimist to a certain degree as well. And I get it. And then they are building the same thing over and over again. You're being redlined. You can't go anywhere else. You're going systematically back into the same communities, and the same thing is happening over and over and over again. And people are left without opportunity to really do for stuff. I'm not saying that. Again, these are not excuses. This is just the reality here, people. We just have to be completely real about what's in place here, and that's why I think it's important to at least recognize it as well.